What's up, Los Gatos Christian Schools? My name is Charles, and I'm one of the new pastors here at Venture. And I'm so excited to be hanging out with you. I'm actually on my way to school, and so I have
Brooklyn
and
Charlotte.
And I'm so glad to be able to be your chapel speaker today. And so that's it for introduction. Let's get into where you'll actually do chapel once we're able to get back on campus. All right, guys, so we have our face mask on because we're on school campus. And normally when school is in, here we go. We're into the room where we could actually do chapel. Man, I'm so bummed that I can't be here hanging out with you, teaching you in person. But I love the theme that we have for this month's chapel. The theme for this month is that God promises wisdom. The idea is so clearly shown to us in James chapter number 1, verse 5. So James chapter 1, verse 5. Here's what the Bible says. That if any of you guys lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all men generously and does not without reproach, and God will give it to him. And here's what I want to focus on today. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God. But let's make it so I'm not standing up talking with this video. Let's get to someplace a little bit more comfy. Hey guys, and we're back. We're gonna wrap up our lesson right here, sitting in my office, finish up this talk about how God promises wisdom. Before we go any further though, I kind of want to just spend some time in talking about like what is wisdom. Give you guys a definition of wisdom. If you're a note taker and you need to write a chapel notebook, you can write down this definition for wisdom. 2 words: applied knowledge. Charles, what does applied knowledge mean? Let me tell you. Wisdom is this: it's knowing what's best, and then it's actually doing what's best. So there's those 2 parts of it, right? There's the knowledge part, right? I need to know what the best thing to do is in this situation. But then there's the applied part too. Knowing isn't good enough. That's not wisdom. Knowing what's best and doing what's best, having the applied knowledge, that's what wisdom is. Another definition that I really love is not 2 words, it's 3 words: skill for life. A lot of you guys probably have a lot of skills, right? Some of you guys have been practicing cursive this year, and you're like, you should see my cursive skills, Charles. My handwriting looks amazing. You have cursive skills. That's sweet. Some of you guys might have amazing reading skills, right? Where you're just like, bam, 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 got it. You have amazing reading skills. Some of you guys watching this video right now are like, Charles, you should see my Fortnite skills. I've been investing hours. I'm gonna be like rocking these tournaments later on in this weekend. You have amazing Fortnite skills. What wisdom isn't skills for any like particular arena, right? It's not like work skills, it's not school skills, it's not like game skills. Wisdom are skills for life. It's just like, hey, if you want to have an amazing life, if you don't not want to be like good at school, good at video games, good at sports or whatever, but you just want to be good at life, what are the skills that you need? Wisdom. You need wisdom. In fact, if you look around in your life and you see people who are just living amazing lives, you're just like, man, they're happy, they're satisfied, they're living a life the way that God designed it to be lived. Man, that person has wisdom. They have skills for living. But here's the thing that I really want to focus in on this morning. The biggest difference between somebody who has wisdom and somebody who doesn't have wisdom is whether or not you want wisdom. Let me let you in on a little secret. No matter how hard your teachers try, and they're going to try super hard, and it's important that they do. No matter how hard your parents try, and they're going to try really hard because they love you. Your teachers and your parents, they can't force you to be wise. They can't be like, let me teach you the skills for life. That if you want to be wise, instead of somebody who's not wise, the biggest difference between the 2 groups is whether or not you say, I want wisdom. I want it. Let me say it this way. The biggest difference between somebody who has wisdom and somebody who doesn't is whether or not they have the attitude that says, I want to learn. I actually want to get better. I don't want to stay stuck. I want to learn in this situation. Somebody who has the attitude that says, I want to learn, is somebody who wants wisdom. Go back to James chapter number 1. You see what it said there? It says, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask God. So step number 1, it's just like, hey, this attitude that says like, I want it. Because you're not going to ask God for something that you don't want, right? And so the person that gets wisdom is the person who wants wisdom. And I've actually seen this played out really clearly so many times. I'm a dad. I have 4 kids. You met my 2 girls earlier in the video. I also have 2 sons in the 7th grade and the 6th grade. If their last name's Homer, they're related to me. And then for the last 15 years, I've been a high school pastor. And so I've been working closely with young people just for a long time. And I can tell so clearly between the people who don't have wisdom and the people who do have wisdom. And here's the clearest way to see it, is when they get corrected, right? So whether it's at school, whether it's at church, or whether it's by their parents, if you watch somebody when they get corrected, right? And something happens, they're doing something, and somebody comes along and says like, hey, you shouldn't do that. You need to do it another way. You can tell in that moment whether they want wisdom or whether they don't. Let me kind of give you a story let me give you an illustration of both. The person who wants wisdom, when they're corrected, goes like, you're right. I'm sorry. I'm going to do better next time. And you can just tell by their attitude, oh, wow, like you want to learn. On the other side, the person who doesn't have wisdom, the person who doesn't want to learn, frequently, here's one of my favorite reactions. You can just kind of see it in their face. They kind of have like their eyes just look at you, and they're like, and when they get in trouble, they say, I don't want to listen to you. Don't tell me what to do. And I'm laughing about it because you probably do this to your parents, and whether or not you do it with your face to your teacher, you know what I'm talking about, right? When somebody gives you correction, you just go, come on, really? I know what's best. And in that moment, here's what you're saying. I don't want to learn. I know what's best. Guys, in Christianity, from the very beginning, you know what our problem is? That as a human race, our great, going on a long way, grandparents, Adam and Eve, do you remember what their problem was? That instead of saying like, oh yeah, like, God, I want to learn, like, if you say that it's not good for us to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, I ain't gonna do that. But instead, what do? Kind of had this attitude, don't tell me what to do. I'm gonna do what I want. And from then until today, the thing that keeps us from getting the wisdom that we need to have our skills for life is this attitude that says, don't tell me what to do. And that hinders us from getting the wisdom that we need. One of the books in the Bible that has so much to say about wisdom is the book of Proverbs. I just want to read a couple of verses from the book of Proverbs for you. Here's Proverbs chapter 12, verse number 1. Whoever loves discipline loves knowledge. Okay, that's this person who's like, hey, I want to learn. Like, teach me. Like, if I'm corrected, I'm not going to get angry. I'm not going to get sad. I want to learn when I'm corrected. But notice what it says about the other person. He who hates reproof. Remember the person who's just like, don't tell me what to do. Here's what the Bible says about this person. He who hates reproof is stupid. You know the Bible calls people stupid? It's not a word that you can call your brother or sister or your classmate. But the Bible says for the person who says, don't tell me what to do, that person's being stupid because they're pushing away wisdom, the thing that they need to be able to have a good life. And then let me give you one more verse. It just scares me. Later on in Proverbs, it says in chapter 14, there's a way that seems right to a man, but in the end it leads to death. Remember this person over here? Now, hey, don't tell me what to do. The problem is they think that they're right. I have the answers. I know what to do. I know what's best. But there's a way that seems right to this person. But in the end, it leads to death. The difference for this person is they're saying like, hey, I want to learn. I want to learn from my teachers. I want to learn from my parents. I want to learn from my classmates. I want to get wisdom. I want to have the skills for life. And that person, instead of only doing what they want, instead of only going the way that they think is best, they're learning from all different types of people to actually make better decisions. One of the things that I hope for my kids and for all of the students here at Los Gatos Christian is that we would be people that are filled with wisdom. And the difference between people who have wisdom and people who don't have wisdom is whether or not you want wisdom. And so this week, here's the phrase that I want you to practice. When your parents correct you, you didn't submit your assignment right, you didn't do the dishes like you were supposed to, or it's time to go to bed, instead of saying like, don't tell me what to do, if you would have the attitude of just like, oh, I want to learn. Like, I want to know how to have skills for life. That instead of choosing pride, you would choose wisdom. And that when you make that choice, God promises, hey, I have wisdom and an amazing life for you. Let's choose wisdom this week.